What's up guys? So E3 2021 has completely wrapped up, and as promised I will be recapping all of E3. From my biggest disappointments to some of the things that I never saw coming that caught my attention, and of course the games that I am most excited for. Since I have already covered the first 2 days in my last video where I talk about all of Ubisoft, Square Enix, and Xbox's presentations, as well as covering other panels like Gearbox and the like. And in this video that you're watching right now, I'm going to be covering Day 3 and 4, as well as focusing mostly on Nintendo's Direct and Capcom's presentation, as well as covering some additional panels like Take-Two Interactive and the Indie Showcase. And well, it goes without saying, but I'm going to be covering quite a bit, and I will also be going in order from what panels happened first, so if you want to skip around, make sure to check the time codes in the description below. And without further ado, let's dive into the first panel of Day 3, which is Intellivision. And honestly, getting a whole panel dedicated to the baby of the worst parts of the Sega Dreamcast and Wii U was interesting to say the least. I genuinely wanted to give it the benefit of the doubt, but all of the games shown for the Amico looked like basically anything that you could get on your phone for free, and they wanted to charge you 10 to 20 bucks per game for it. And I'm sorry, but I'm not spending $250 to $300 on the Amico itself to play mobile games. So with that being said, let's move on to Take-Two. And honestly, I'm really surprised we didn't get a single game from them, especially considering that they own Rockstar and 2K, which Rockstar alone has one of the most anticipated games of this year that tons of people were looking for the confirmation of and have been for a very long time. And of course, I'm talking about GTA 6. And look, say what you want about this conference, but if they decided to release this anywhere but at E3, no one would give a shit about anything that they were saying or doing. And honestly, sometimes there are things that are more important than video games. It honestly just is what it is. Now, we move on to the Indie Showcase. They kicked it off with Life Slide, and honestly, all I have to say is, it is the embodiment of the phrase, simple but effective. It's a game where you control a paper airplane and discover new beautiful environments. It's not really my cup of tea, but it does look like it could be very fun. Following that, we got Falling Frontier, which again, normally I don't like this type of game, but to be honest with you, Falling Frontier looks fantastic compared to every space-based strategy game that I've ever seen, and I will probably end up trying it if I'm being honest with you. And outside of that, the last Indie Showcase game that caught my eye was, and I'm going to pronounce this wrong, Tunguska: The Visitation. It looks like a top-down post-apocalyptic survival Escape from Tarkov-like game with zombies or whatever the hell this is, and it honestly looks really interesting, and I really do want to see more before I decide whether I will get it or not. And between you and me, it's really weird to hear me saying that the most interesting looking game to me from the Indie Showcase is a space RTS game, but that is just me because I don't really care for RTSs in general. But we're going to move on to Freedom Games. They started it off with Dreamscaper, which absolutely blew me away when I finally saw the trailer. I mean, it looks fantastic. I don't really have much to say aside from the fact that I love the premise of having a seemingly normal life going on in the real world, and when you fall asleep, it's basically a dungeon crawler, and the only way to end it is, well, to die. Next up, fans of Pokemon like myself might be interested in the Koromon reveal that we got. From what we saw, it's pretty much Pokemon, but with a story. Admittedly, some of the Koromon that they showed us look insanely good, so this might be a game that I talk about in the future, assuming it does have a fan base of any kind. And honestly, since we didn't get any Pokemon from the Nintendo Direct, I think that this game will definitely hold some fans over like myself. And now, if you've watched all of my E3 related videos up to this point, you would know that I love RPGs very much. And Freedom Games also gave us Dark Deity, a gorgeous looking RPG that looks like it's heavily inspired by Fire Emblem, because it has a system where characters can form relationships with one another, as well as a class system. But it isn't by any means basically a Fire Emblem ripoff, because it also looks like it has very unique elements to it as well, like characters that look like elves, as well as one specific dude that is reminiscent of Aang from Avatar, and this dude just straight up has a World of Warcraft weapon. For fellow fans of Stardew Valley, we got a space-based game that is heavily inspired by Stardew Valley, called One Lonely Outpost. It pretty much is Stardew Valley in space if you got to create the community instead of being thrust into one, as well as if all of the crops were cracked up on steroid GMOs, and if all of the livestock were robots. I also really like the little features that they added to make it very unique, such as having to cook your own food and a little mini game to grow the crops. But that pretty much wraps up everything that I found interesting from Freedom Games' presentation. Honestly, I did not think that I'd be that interested in as many games as I did, especially with it being their first E3. Now, finally, we get to Capcom, and I was right on the nose with my prediction for them announcing the DLC for Resident Evil Village. Though I actually am pretty surprised that it is literally just that. They apparently haven't started anything up until recently, so we may end up seeing what it will be called and roughly what it will focus on later this year at some point, because they did literally tell us we'd get more details for it later. And when is later? Personally, I'm assuming that it is sometime within the next few months, which is hopefully also when they will give us our first look at Resident Evil 4's remake. And for the Monster Hunter fans, you got a lot of content coming. From Monster Hunter Stories 2 to a very big announcement for a bunch of future content for Monster Hunter Rise. Though I'm not a Monster Hunter guy by any means, I'm super excited for anybody who is a fan of this game, because damn, they are giving you guys so much to look forward to. Next up, we got the announcement for Ace Attorney's Chronicles, which I honestly thought was already announced, or maybe I could be losing it, but we are finally getting the localization of the two games that have never been officially released in America or Europe. And unfortunately, aside from some esports stuff for Street Fighter V, that is literally it. I was expecting more, and I am quite disappointed if I'm being honest, but that just means that I have to keep an eye on Capcom's Twitter for the future announcements of Street Fighter VI and the trailer for Resident Evil 4's remake. And that pretty much wraps up day 3 of E3. Honestly, for me, it's the best day of E3 up to this point, and though Capcom really did disappoint me, with how many amazing games Freedom Games alone has, I'm not that bothered by it, to be honest. Let me know what you guys think of everything up until this point, and now we finally get to the day that we have all been waiting for. In the last day of E3, we are going to have Nintendo's Direct kicking it off. But will it live up to the hype of the fans? And will it blow my mind personally? Let's find out. So they came out swinging with Kazuya joining Smash. And I would say more, but I will just let my live reaction say it all for me. They're starting out swinging. They're starting out swinging. They're starting out swinging. No! Yo! And a little heads up for my subscribers who love Smash content, I will be making a video about this separately where I talk about this. The next game that caught my attention was a brand new Mario Party game. And honestly, I am looking forward to it because I loved Mario Party 64, and there are a bunch of maps from the 64 returning. Next, we got a brand new Metroid game, Metroid Dread, the first 2D Metroid game in almost 19 years. And personally, I would have preferred some Prime 4 news, but hey, Metroid Dread looks fantastic and I can't wait to play it in October. Not to mention, Samus's new suit looks really sick. At first, I was taken aback by it because of the white, but now I actually really like it. Following that, we got a closer look at Mario Golf Super Rush, and it looks absolutely ridiculous. The fact that it looks like an RPG, but is golf, just... I don't even know what to say, to be honest. I think this game might actually make me play golf for once. A new Warioware was announced, and honestly, I don't know why I didn't expect it, because I also got that questionnaire that a bunch of content creators have been talking about, and to be honest with you, it does look like a pretty fun game to pass the time. And finally, we got a handful of Zelda announcements. They kicked it off with the first DLC for Age of Calamity, and Link has some nunchuck-looking things, which to me looks pretty sick if I'm being honest. And I can't wait to get my hands on the DLC. Following that, we got a revisit to Skyward Sword. And though a lot of people are either hating this game's existence or are pretty meh overall about it, I actually am looking forward to this game. I never got a chance to play it on the Wii back when it was originally released, and the fact that I have been wanting to play it for several years is probably clouding my judgment, but I really don't care. Next up, they announced a Link Game & Watch. So for all of the nostalgia junkies, this is for you. And I'm not gonna lie to you, I was getting very worried that we weren't going going to see more from Breath of the Wild 2. And it was very brief, but goddamn did it look amazing. I love the design for his new arm and can't wait to see what else it does, especially since he can now just go through solid ground apparently. This game looks like it's going to be insane and I cannot wait for the official trailer for it. Nintendo's Direct left something to be desired if you want my opinion, but I'm going to be completely honest with you. Kazuya joining Smash made my fucking day, and I really could care less about the rest of the Direct after that point. I do wish we did see something for Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, but hopefully that just means that we will be getting a Pokemon Presents in the future. And with that being said, let me know what you thought of the entirety of E3 in the comments down below. And while you are down there, let me know which panel you liked the most, as well as which announcement you are most hyped for. Personally, for me, I think I enjoyed the Freedom Games panel the most, and the announcement that I am most hyped for is a tie between Kazuya for Smash and Ayuden Chronicle 100 Heroes. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, and hopefully I'll catch you in the next one.